There's a word that's been following you around your entire life. Shy. Maybe a teacher wrote it on a school report. Maybe a parent said it about you at a dinner party while you were standing right there. Perhaps a partner has said it lovingly, the way someone might describe the weather. You know, she's just a bit shy. And every time you've heard it, a small part of you has just quietly agreed. Because there's this thing that happens in your body when you walk into a room full of people you don't know yet, or when your boss asks you for an opinion in a meeting, or when you go to speak and your throat just tightens up and the words, poof, turn to dust. Here's what I want to offer you today. That feeling in your body, it's not shyness. It's a freeze response. And it was installed in you before you had the language to name it. I'm Elizabeth Ann Walker, and I've spent over 25 years working with high-performing women who run companies, lead teams, hold the room, and almost every single one of them, at some point, in a hushed voice, has said that they're actually just a shy person underneath, as though they've been getting away with something. They never were shy. They were actually running a survival program. And once you can see it for what it is, you can begin to downregulate it and actually turn it completely off. So stay with me. This session will change the story you've been telling yourself about who you are in a room. Introversion is a temperament. Freeze is a survival state, and they are miles apart. First, let's clear something up, because this is where most people get tangled. Introversion is a real thing. Being an introvert, it's a temperament. It describes how you recharge. Introverts top up their energy in the quiet, in solitude, in small focused conversations. Whereas extroverts or extroversion, they top up in groups, in stimulation, in the buzz. Neither one of these is broken. Neither one is better. It's just the way that your brain is wired. Shyness, at least the way it's been sold to you, is something else entirely. It's been nicely packaged up as a personality trait, as if it lives in you the same way your eye colour does. Permanent, fixed, just who you are. Well, guess what? They lied. 3 states rather than 2 moods. Your nervous system has 3 states it lives in. Now, the science behind this comes from a researcher called Dr. Stephen Porges, and his work is called polyvagal theory. So I'm going to keep it nice and simple. State number 1, social engagement. This is where you feel safe, your face is animated, your voice has range, your breathing is easy, and you make eye contact. You're genuinely curious about the person in front of you, and this is where connection lives. State number 2, fight or flight, where your system reacts to danger, your sympathetic nervous system fires up, your heart rate climbs, your muscles tense, and you get ready to push back or to leave quick, mobilized. State number 3, freeze. When fight or flight isn't an option, when you're a small child, or when the threat is someone you depend on, or when leaving will cost you too much, your system drops down into freeze. The voice goes quiet, the body goes still, the face goes flat, and you simply disappear in plain sight. You're numb. Freeze isn't a personality. It's the oldest survival strategy you have. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Your brain is wired through repetition. Whatever state you spent the most time in as a child becomes the state that your nervous system defaults to as an adult. Easily, automatically, and actually without checking in with you first. So, here's how the rule got written. Imagine a small child, 3, maybe 4 years old, She has a thought, a bright, alive, important, curious thought. She says it out loud, and one of three things happens. Option number one, she gets shut down. She's told to be quiet. She's told that's a silly thing to say. She's laughed at. The adult is annoyed, and she watches the room go cold. Option number two, she gets ignored. She speaks and nothing happens. No one looks up. The thought lands in dead air. She feels invisible in her own house. And option number three, she gets used. Her words are turned against her later, repeated to family members as a joke, brought up at the dinner table just to embarrass her. Her young brain, which is doing exactly what it was designed to do, runs the maths very fast. Speaking up equals danger. Being small equals safety. And that equation gets written into her nervous system as a rule. And from that moment on, every time she goes to speak in a moment that matters, that rule fires off underneath everything she's doing. The throat tightens, the voice gets quieter, the thought goes back into the box. She never decided to be shy. She was trained to disappear. And the cruelest part of this, the part that keeps women stuck for decades, is that the rule keeps running even when the danger is long gone. Even when she's now the most qualified person in the boardroom, even when she's the expert, even when she's the one being asked, the nervous system never got the memo. Concrete is hard. I'm really soft. There's 9 meters between me and it. I hold onto the rig with my slightly sweaty left hand, arm and shoulder outstretched, all my weight on this as my toes grip the edge of this piece of metal that's 1 meter by 30 centimeters. My right arm reaching out, and I hear, "Next time." I look for the bar coming towards me, and as it lands in my palm, I hold my breath. I freeze, stuck between the world of height and the world of flight. Listo! It's deafening and nothing happens. I don't move. I stare into the lights and nothing happens. He'd yelled at me 12 minutes ago. And the child in me looked across, saw him, and froze. I became small and helpless. And I was stuck, standing on the top of a flying trapeze, completely frozen. I took a breath. I gathered myself. I was in the middle of a flying trapeze show. I had to perform the act. There wasn't a choice. And so frozen and numb, I let my body do the work. I knew the answer. I'd already done the work. My body just hadn't gotten the update. And eventually I just went. And it did work, although that freeze, it really threw me, and it stopped me actually doing that performance for a long time after, until I'd regulated my nervous system. So where are the 4 places that this all shows up as an adult? Once you know what to look for, you can actually spot the freeze response everywhere. Let me give you 4 places it shows up in grown women's lives. And I wonder if you just look at yourself and ask how many have you lived in. So number 1, the meeting where you had the answer yet said nothing. You knew, you absolutely knew. The thought was sitting right there at the front of your mind, on the tip of your tongue, fully formed. The window opened, the window closed, and someone else said a watered down version of the thing you were going to say, and they got credit for it. You walked out furious with yourself. You promised that next time you'd speak up. Next time came, and the same thing happened. Number 2, the conversation where your face went still. Someone said something to you, a comment, a bit of a dig, a request that wasn't fair, and your face just did this thing where it went smooth, polite, pleasant, and inside your whole system was screaming. You replayed it over and over in your mind for hours afterwards. You came up with 7 excellent comebacks, yet none of them happened on time. Number 3, the room where you went small. You walked into an event, a networking thing, a party or a workshop, and within 90 seconds, you had moved your body to the edge of the room. You'd made yourself smaller. Your voice had dropped half an octave. You laughed at jokes you didn't think were funny. And by the time you left, you were exhausted. Not from the people, but from having to hold that performance of disappearing in a crowd. And number 4, the relationship where you stopped saying what you needed. Somewhere along the line, you just learned that asking was risky, so you stopped asking. You started managing the other person's mood instead, reading the temperature of the room, calibrating yourself to whatever they needed you to be, and calling it being easygoing. Going small isn't a personality, it's actually a survival skill, and you outgrew it years ago. Here's where most advice fails you. Most advice tells you to push through. Speak up anyway, fake confidence, power pose in the bathroom, stand up straight. And whilst some of that can be helpful in a very short moment, most of it doesn't work for any length of time. So why willpower can't outmuscle your nervous system? Willpower lives in the prefrontal cortex, the front of your brain. Logic, planning, decision-making, it all lives there. It's the part of you that's reading the book on assertiveness. The freeze response lives in the brainstem, the oldest, deepest, fastest part of you. It fires off in milliseconds, long before your prefrontal cortex even knows that the meeting has started. Trying to out-willpower a freeze response is like trying to outrun a car while you're on foot. The wiring is older. The wiring is faster. The wiring will win every single time you try to push through it. You can't think your way out of this. You have to teach your body that this room, no, not the room, that your body today is safe. Now, in integrated NLP, we call this an anchor, a learned automatic link between a trigger and a response. Your freeze pattern is one big anchor that's been firing off for decades. The great news is that anchors can be rewritten. Your nervous system stays plastic for life. Have you heard of neuroplasticity? That's what we're talking about. The wiring is old, and rather than being fixed, it's mobile. We can change it, and that's super exciting. So I'm going to give you one thing, just one. The whole rewire of your brain is a much bigger thing than this video. That's the work that I do inside of our integrated NLP training, and it's the work I do with women who are in my deeper coaching containers. However, this one shift, practiced consistently for 2 weeks, will start to crack the pattern open. This is called the one breath rewrite. And here's how it goes. The next time you feel that familiar tightness, the meeting starts, the room fills up, the question lands in your lap, you do exactly one thing before you respond. You take one slow breath in through your nose for 4, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 6 counts. Here we go. The out breath has to be longer than the in breath. That's the whole technique. And here's why this works. A long out breath sends a signal up through your vagus nerve to your brain that says, hey, we're safe. The body relaxes the freeze. The voice comes back online. The thought is still there waiting for you. One breath. 4 in, 6 out, and then you speak. I want you to do this every time in meetings, at dinners, in moments when you'd normally disappear. You're actually teaching your nervous system a brand new equation. Speaking up while my body is calm equals safety. Over time, and I mean within weeks, never years, the freeze actually starts to lose its grip. The voice gets steadier. The room gets smaller. You get bigger. You see, you were never shy. You were a child who learned to disappear because at the time, disappearing kept you safe. And your nervous system has carried that strategy forward for years longer than it ever needed to. The room you're in today isn't the room you grew up in. The people in front of you aren't the people who taught your body to go quiet. And the woman you've become, the one that's watching this right now, is more than ready to be heard. It's not a personality problem. It's a nervous system that's still doing its job from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And that means you get to give it new instructions. If any of this has landed, if any of this has felt like I was sitting across from you reading your notes, then that's the work. That's exactly the work I do inside Integrated NLP and inside my coaching groups, Elevate and Amplify. The full rewire, not just the breath. If you're ready, send me the word rewire in the DMs and I'll send you the next step. I'll see you in the next video.